So today I'm going to run through a little bit of what I had to do to get the ADJ app, using you can kind of see it down here. This is the ADJ Airstream, the Airstream DMX Bridge. It's something that I use with a lot of my lights for using DMX control. And I wanted to have the GigBAR Move. This is the Chauvet GigBAR Move, and set it up for that. And there's a couple of things that were kind of unique to this to get it to be used. Some things that I'm going to go through, some tips on how to get it set up, what I had to do, and then a couple of things of what I would like to have, but it just didn't work out that way. So first off, we got multiple things recording here. We're going to jump over to the iPad and take a look at that here, because it's really where a lot of the magic happens. Let's take a look. So first off, you had to set up a profile for this. In order to do that, you've got to go to your patching, and then you can see I've already got it in here, but you would go to your profile there and find it, and it's not under Chauvet. So I had to go and actually go to a let's see, in the upper right hand corner here you can see online library, and there I could do a search, and I came up with multiple different versions. I was able to download the GigBAR Move ones, and you see that there's three. There's the 3-channel, 17-channel, and 35-channel. 35-channel would give us the ability to control the different effects. So you'd have your pars as one effect, you would have the moving heads individually, control of those, you can control the pars individually, but all of the lights can be controlled individually. That did not work for the software for the Airstream Bridge. I could control things individually, but I wanted to use the effects movements, and it would not work. So we went with the 17-channel. And when I patch in the 17-channel, I'm actually going to do it here. We're just going to patch it in, as it'll go in as the second one here. Now I'm going to take you over here and show you the different channels that are here. Now you'll see number 5 is set, and it says, oops, let me back up here. Number 5 is set as a dimmer, and number 14 is set as a dimmer. 5 is set as a dimmer, if you can see right above it, the pars and derby, those derbies are in the very top. It's set as a dimmer for those. Number 14 is the dimmer for the moving head fixtures. And that became a problem, is that there were two things named dimmer, and when I was going to go and set this up, I would be able to control everything. I can control the movements of the moving heads with an effect, but it wouldn't have any control of the dimmer. Let me take you back here, and this is the one that I'm actually going to delete that second one because I'm not using it. This is the one that I am using. And this is what I had to do to make it work, is I had to rename the dimmer for the number 5 to par dimmer. Now the software understood that the dimmer for the moving heads was a dimmer, and that worked wonderfully, and we were up and running. So I have my GigBAR Move set there. I've got the little image. This is one of my fixtures, and of course it's 35 channels. So when I hit channels, there's all the different channels to control right there. And of course number 5 is the dimmer that I had to rename. Now we're going to jump over to scenes, because this is where a lot of the magic happens. Now you see I've got different pictures and colors here, and I have a lot of the Ghostbusters image going on there. So let's jump back to the camera up here on top. And now we're going to hit the first Ghostbuster, which said it was blue. And what this is just a scene that I have made, that is the lights are static between the pars and the derbies. No strobe, or no, I am not using the strobes here, and I'm not using the laser on this scene. So I'm just using blue in this. Now one of the downfalls of using the 17-channel control is that I cannot separate the two of these. They're basically going to be, if I select blue, they're going to be blue. And this is putting the blue beams up on the roof. I don't know if I can turn this far enough to have it so you can see it. There we go. So that's putting the blue beams like that up on the roof, and I can control the speed of the rotation and the color, but the color is going to coincide with whatever is going on at the pars, because these 4 are tied together color-wise. The moving heads are tied together with each other, so if I have a movement, it's going to be the same on both sides, and it's also going to be the same color on both sides, under 17-channel control. 35, I have much more control. The problem with 35 is that I could not use my effects, and I'm going to show you that in just a second. So I've got different scenes set up. The red and the green and the white, those are all the first 4 scenes. Let's jump back to the iPad for a second. Now I can just literally go through and pick those, and they will change color based on what I'm hitting. One thing, you see that red solo. If I go and if I disable that, I'm going to go back to blue, and as I'm going through, what you see is now two of them are on at the same time. And if we go back to the tree here, you can see that instead of being just, let me go shut that blue one off. Instead of being red, when I have both of them selected, it becomes that kind of a purple. And that's one of the things that solo will allow me to do, is that when you have it on solo, when you hit the next one, the next scene, or it goes to the next scene, it will shut off the old scene settings. So that way you've got a scene of one color, you can shut it off with the solo as you hit the next button, or as it goes through and it becomes a show. And that's kind of an important thing to have. When there's solos on, you can't stack things, so there's times where you want to have it so you can stack, where you have a control that's running your floods, and then you got a control that's running moving heads, and then I can literally shut one moving head control off, the floods are still running, and then turn another one on in the scenes area, and that works well with some lighting effects. There aren't any built-in macro programs with this in the GigBAR, so that makes it a little more difficult for us to utilize that technology. So really what I had to do, and this is what all those Ghostbusters things are, is that they're different color scenes. Okay, I'm going to shut those off. Now we're going to go to the next one, jump back to the iPad here. We're going to go down to shows. I have 4 shows that are built in, that I had built into this, or I have programmed into this. The first one is just a 4-color chase, but it's using the moving head fixtures. Now again, because of the solo, you're seeing that the colors are actually changing. This is green, this is red, and they're changing. In the white, you're noticing that the derby, the color looks pretty close here to the different colors when it goes to white specifically, but you can see what the derby is actually doing. It's putting all the dots. It's using the RGB dots up on the wall, and it's from visual it is, but what I'm going to be doing with the derbies is putting them up on the ceiling. I don't want them in people's faces, so that's what I'm going to be doing. I've got a par chase, so this is just trying to chase the pars, and I'm using obviously the derbies are part of that. Now this is what I wanted to show you. I'm going to jump back to the iPad, and on the iPad you see this M on the left here, and you go and that becomes a master, and it's a strobe, and I can bring this down and I can actually dim down the lights with that. So I can brighten the floods up, and I can dim them down. So I don't really have to have a second chase with a dimmer setting on this case. I can basically have one chase, and I can dim it this way, which is kind of a neat little effect with that. This one I've got a 5-second par chase, or half a second, because I wanted something for faster when I wanted that. And then I have a chase that's going to go through, and it's different colors and different things. Again, if I'm not using a solo button, this would be messy. Yeah, the colors wouldn't be the consistent colors and be the colors uniformly across the board. So we're going to jump back to the scenes. Now the GigBAR Move has got, we have pars, we have our derby, we have our moving head, we have our strobe, and we have our laser. So if you go back to the iPad here, I have some different scenes set up that are not the Ghostbuster one. The Ghostbuster ones, I basically made that so that when my son is running this, he knows that those are ones that aren't really used as shows. But like this particular one is white slow. So we're getting a white color on the dance floor. We're getting a little bit more illumination. I'm using these as kind of a blinder, but I've dimmed them down just a hair bit, and then we have the moving head fixtures that's giving us some motion across the floor. This is a white slow. I set one up where it's UV and the white, so we have 2 of these trees, so when we're using them they will have the UV and the white up there, so that'll look pretty cool. Then I wanted to have a couple of scenes set for lights, just to be for the times where you just need to have white light on the floor. So I've got a really bright white, I've got a medium, and then I have a dim. So there's 3 different levels here of that, and again those are buttons that I have made here. I wanted to have something with the lasers, so we have kind of a slow dance effect. The green laser is on. I don't know if you can see, there we go, you can see the lasers. We have one with green laser, I programmed one with the red laser, and then I programmed one with the combination of the 2. Basically I figured that the only time we're going to really use lasers is going to be with slow dances, so there they are, and they're set up that way. So one final thing I want to go before we're done, we're going to jump back to the iPad, is we're going to get out of the app. Now some people have had problems with the iPad. This particular one I'm using is a iPad mini, and it does not have cell service. But this is something you're going to want to do, is you hook up to your Wi-Fi from your Airstream Bridge, and you want to shut off your cell service capability. Oh, that's AirDrop, but your cell would be right there. And you want to shut off your Bluetooth, because those 2 things, especially the cell capability, will cause problems. And so one of the things with that is that when it has the cell service on, it's trying to find the internet, and it will go and try to do it through the cell service, and after a period of time you'll have problems where that isn't going to work, and it's going to be bouncing back and forth trying to find internet. Whereas if you shut the cell phone off, it's going to accept, or cell service off, it's going to accept that the DMX Bridge is the only connection it's going to have, and you won't be having dropouts, and that's huge. So make sure you shut the cell off. Some people go to airplane mode and then turn the Wi-Fi on and connect to the bridge. That would obviously be your best option. Anyway, so there's a couple of quick things. I just wanted to go and show you what I had to do to get the GigBAR Move up and running, and we're going to do some more, set a few more programs, but we're pretty much ready to go, and I'll give you guys a report of how they turned out and how it worked at the show. Thanks for watching.